All right, so we're going to do a quick little video on our hack to the pattern that I gave you the link to. There is a video she has, but we're doing things just a little bit different. This is for the fleece mittens, and we're doing a t-shirt liner for the most part. So you're going to start out by rounding up your fleece piece that is the lower palm, and a fleece piece and a knit piece. And then you need for the upper palm. So this piece actually goes like that together with this piece, and that makes one hand, all right? Or the palm side. And then the palm side is joined up later with the back of the hand piece that looks like that. All right, so when you are laying those pieces together, you're going to want to have like this. You're going to have your knit and corresponding fleece. Now we've modified the pattern a little bit. Her pattern curves like this at the bottom. We're not doing that. So this piece is kind of a combination of our process of getting to where we're at. So your pattern or cut pieces that you're going to get from us are going to look like this, come straight down. Same on the palm side, it comes straight down the sides. So for the purpose of the video, I'm sorry, you're going to have to kind of deal with the fact that I've got a mixture of pieces, but I've got a knit lower section on the palm side, a fleece lower section. Then I have a fleece upper section on the palm side and a knit. So knit, fleece, fleece, knit. And when you do this, you are going to want to make sure that you don't do what we just about had happen here. Look at that. I'm about to make two of the same hand. So this is a bad deal. If you would lay them out at the same time, you can avoid doing this. So let me take this one apart and fix our little adventure. You know, if it happens, oh well, we'll just try to do one more pair with the two opposites, and we'll call them a pair together. So what I'm going to have to do is flip everybody over. Okay. And I'm just going on top here. And there we go. Now I have, oh, I guess this is that's my right hand, and this will be my left hand. Okay? So when you put these together, I would recommend starting right here in the corner of the thumb, and there's an important spot that you're going to need to be aware of. And I don't know, just for me, I have to sew on this side because you've got a convex curve and a concave curve. This curve has to join to that one, and that's going to take some bending. So the bending is going to be easier for me on this side. I'm going to bend like this as I go around all the way over. This tail does not continue bending though. Once you get to that tail, you're going to stop. All right, so I'm going to pin that loosely. What I want to show you is that on the thumb, where we pivot, when we come down the side of the thumb here and come down, we're going to turn and pivot. We're going to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way. And I want to mark my pivot spot. Okay, and then I want to go directly across so I know where to start. This seam does not continue all the way down. It stops right here. So I'll turn this over so you aren't distracted by all the writing. So I'm just trying to go straight across to give myself an idea where I want to start. So I'll draw a little dot, all right? That'll help me start and pivot in the same line. And that is literally an end point. This will open up and go like this. And when I do that, you can kind of see now how that matches up with the back of the hand piece. It's the same shape. So these two pieces only get joined from here all the way around the thumb over to the side of the hand, and then that's it. So let's do that on the sewing machine. All right. And I'm sorry that we have black, because black is notoriously hard to see on a video, but I'm just making sure that all my layers are lined up with each other. I am using a very small zigzag. On this machine, that means my stitch width is at 1 and my stitch length is at 12. But everybody's sewing machine is different, and in the studio we have many sewing machines, they're all different. All right, so I just anchored my thread and I'm moving over, so I'm going to be at a 1/4 inch seam. Around the corner. You may have to stop and sort of release some of the tension on the knit, might kind of advance. Plus, let me have you take a look up here on the top of your sewing machine. There is a button that controls how much pressure is on the foot of your machine. If you'll release that and then turn this just a little bit, even though your foot is down, you've got a little bit more ability to move your project around. So you can make that change. If you do, I recommend you maybe make a note to yourself so that you can remember to undo that, because when you go to sew another project, you'll wonder why your project's slipping all over. All right, so try and avoid the temptation to come down the thumb and curve in. Don't do it. Even if you're tempted to do it, just don't do it. We need as much room across here as we can get. We're discovering that her pattern is a little snug right there when you put it on your hand. So I'm going to really resist the urge and come straight down to that dot that I had created earlier. Okay, ready to pivot. Take my pin out, and now see how I've got a concave curve and a convex. I'm going to bring this up and just make them line up. Put my foot back down, and I've got some knit that's being uncooperative. There we go. So I'm going to use this pencil as a stylus just to get across here. And again, I'm sticking with a quarter inch seam as much as possible. And the project's going to curve a little. You might have to pull some of the fabric out of your way. Now I need to move my pin. Make sure everybody's laying flat, which they're not. So get under here. All right. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come straight to where these two pieces converge. So right to here. And that's it. I don't need to backstitch. I'm going to get my needle in the highest position. And now I can trim that piece off. We're going to clip in here so that this can, it's going to actually make a turn all the way like that. So that's important. Then I'm going to trim off as much excess. I don't know if you can see this in the video. Making this a really small seam. That zigzag, I don't know if you can see it. Does that show up in the video? It's very tiny, it's very secure, so we can get a very small seam allowance, and the less fabric that's in there sharing the space with the thumb, the better. Okay, so I'll go back over here, get rid of some of that. Okay, now once that's done, I can lay this flat like that, and I've got that part of my mitt done. I am going to lay it together with a back of the hand pair, which is of course a knit and a fleece. The fleece is going on the outside and the knit is going on the inside. If someone decides their mitten is warmer the other way, they can turn them and wear them inside out. I actually saw where that's sort of the fashion on one of the mitten pages, pattern pages. Okay, so I'm lining the pieces up. I have the special challenge of this crazy curve that I have to deal with, but just go ahead and get your edges all lined up. This is very forgiving. The extra can just be worked in. All right, so feel free, if you like to pin, you can pin. I'm I'm not a pinner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work my way up, and when I get to this thumb, I'm just going to bend it back. You'll see what I mean when I get there. Ah, and I feel a pin. There's a pin on the back side. All right, so here I am. I've got some choices to make. Her video, she has you sew right up to this spot where my old sewing is and end. And then tip the thumb and start here. So the problem is when you do that, you've got a point of vulnerability where you've got starting and stopping and a chance for holes. So instead, what I'm going to do is bend the thumb to the side, open up that seam allowance a little bit, and I'm keeping track. This is where my stitching is, okay? So I am going to try, I'm aiming for that. I'm going up and over. Now if you have a machine that will let you backstitch, feel free to do like this, come back over it again, and go forward. So now we have no starts and stops there, which I just think is so much better. I'm going to take a minute now and line things up down at the other end. That way when I'm coming down the home stretch, I don't have an oopsie to make up for down there. See how they're all landing the same? Any funny business up here, I will just take care of it as I'm sewing. Knit and fleece are very, very, very forgiving, so we're going to take advantage of that knowledge. All right. There is a little trick. If you are doing this and you're having trouble with your fabric laying nicely, if you take any, like a postcard that you got in the junk mail and lay it on here right next to where you're sewing, it will help your fabric stay put. Mine's actually behaving pretty well, so I'm not needing it. But it's just a good trick to know. If you're needing it, you just go grab one of those quick. Okay, taking a minute to reline things up again. Now on the other side, we have the same thing. We've got that seam. You can either lay it open like this, lay it this direction, lay it that direction, go up and over. It really, this side doesn't matter what you decide you want to do. Okay. Now I'm gonna actually have an opportunity to use my trick because I've got this to ease in, and if I use the ruler, I should be able to ease it in without any puckers. The trick is to not sew your ruler to your mitten. Okay, did it? How easy that was. Now, I take and turn the project, put it back on the machine, and I'm going to go to a straight stitch and stitch around that bottom opening, just to keep the two layers together. Snip that off. Now, this is where I had the original pattern used to cut the fleece and the new pattern used to cut the knit liner. I'm just going to leave it there. I think that'll actually feel better on the wrist than if I were to make them match each other. Turn that off just a little bit. One of our volunteers has a rotary cutter that cuts It's the word pinking, has a pinking edge. If you want to do that, you sure can. It's not necessary. We'd rather, I guess I would like to get these mittens to everybody while it's still really, really cold here in Birmingham. Now, when you're ready to turn it, I'm finding the easiest way is to take this thumb, put it all the way, because this is you can see it's much longer than my thumb. This is a men's size, so it's going to be a challenge, right? If I just take and gather this up until my thumb is all the way down at the bottom, and then squeeze my thumb to my index finger, and then I'm going to start turning like this, so that I can get that thumb. Otherwise, you're going to find it's a little tricky to get that thumb to fully turn. Okay, mitten made. And it's a little big for me, but it's going to fit somebody. We've got a guide theme, so there we go. So the changes we make on our pattern versus hers, or our process versus hers. Okay, I see a stitch. I might go in and reinforce that just because I don't know what that is. But what we do is we come straight down. We're not doing elastic. We're coming straight down instead of curving. And we are doing 1/4 inch seams all the way around. We are not starting and stopping at this juncture. We simply go up and over, okay? And so just check when you turn your mitten to make sure that you've got good contact. I do have good contact. I'm just not liking that I've got this stretchy stitch here, so I'm gonna go back in. But I think if your mitten looks good, then you just move on to doing the next mitten. So I'm to fix that spot that I'm seeing, I'm just gonna go on here, go back to my stretchy. Okay, now I know for positive it is not going to come apart. Get it all the way down there. Push. One of the things I did notice yesterday when we were doing these, if your tension isn't quite right, you will see your stitches. So maybe test your tension for this particular project before you actually do your mitten, just to be sure. But there you go, mitten made. Boop.